This video is going to be like a shorter video just to show you how to use the tax record. So there's different ways to enter the tax record. You can either go from the portal directly onto Realist, or let's say you're already on the MLS like I was here, you can always click the link for Realist Tax as well. In some different situations you might want to use the tax record is when you're filling out like a contract to write an offer, or maybe you're trying to get more information before you're going on a listing appointment. The tax record will be able to show you a little bit more information that what you typically might find on the MLS. So there's different ways to be able to search. The quick search is going to be the easiest way for you to be able to like look up, random properties as well as different people. So you can either put the address of the property in here, which I always find is a little bit easier than putting the name of the person, because some people have the same name. You have to then comb through that list and like choose the right person. Also, the search feature for the name doesn't seem to be that accurate. So when you are looking up somebody's name, sometimes the property address pops up, but sometimes it doesn't. And also, if you're looking at a property that is under an LLC and you only have the person's real name, you might not be able to find that property. So definitely, if you have the property address, that is the best way to do it. You can go to My Search and do more extensive criteria, which we can go into it a little later of a video to be able to see why you might want to create a different search on the tax record, whether it's like you're mailing out to like specific clients or whatever. That might be like a better way to aggregate all those names and addresses. But for right now, we're just doing a basic search as if you were essentially just looking up a random property's address information for filling out a contract or getting more information about a listing. So I'm just going to put in an address for a listing that I have. I hit search. The address of the property comes up. If it is on the market, it will show, the market information of like when the list date is, what the sales price is, building square footage. I know it populates on the MLS for the building square feet because I actually put that in there. But if it doesn't show up on the MLS, like if you're looking at a property, you don't know what the square footage is, you would definitely want to go to this particular section or look on the Realist or tax record to be able to find out what the square footage. It's not guaranteed that the square footage will be on the tax record, but there's a higher chance of it being on the tax record opposed to the MLS for whatever reason. So just briefly going over this listing sheet, you always have the owner information at the top. This one's under an LLC, and then the LLC's mailing address as well. And then it has the location information for this particular property, the township, municipality, zip code, school district, carrier route, zoning, so lot and block number as well. If the lot and block number aren't on the MLS, this is another way or reason why you would be going on the tax record, is to find out the lot and block number, because you need that for the sales contract. Shows you not just the current taxes or the taxes for the previous year, but also shows you the taxes for years in the past as well, from 2016 to 17 to 2018, and the changes that occurred along with those years. Shows the last sale date for the property and what the property has sold for under last market sale and sales history. So the date that the property closed, the sale price for the property, and who purchased the property and what mortgage was on the property prior to that. If you scroll down, it also has the dimensions for the property. So it has, or for the for the entire property. So it has 25 by 100 lot. And you have more information on this page as well that you can comb through, but that's the main objective of going to the tax record, is to verify the information that may or may not be on the MLS. At the top, you have a bunch of different tabs where you can look at comparables from the town. I find that looking on the tax record might not be the best way to do it. It's not always like the proper information, or you have to input a lot of other information to be able to find comparables. I find that the MLS personally is a lot easier to use, so I don't typically use this. Therefore, I will not be training you on it. But I'll let you know that the other thing that I end up using, and at the top you have assessor map. So this is the tax assessor's map that you can click and look at yourself. You can look at the neighborhood profile, the neighbors and whatnot. Again, like I typically don't use this information too much, but if somebody is asking for this information, maybe you want to forward it over to them, because it does give you the estimated population, the median age, the households, like the amount of households in this particular town, just helpful information like that maybe the potential buyer or the seller would like to know. Another useful tool is going to be the flood map. So definitely, before seeing properties, or before you show a property to your client, you want to make sure that the property is either in a flood zone or it's not in a flood zone. Because once the property is in a flood zone, sometimes it requires flood insurance, which could be an added cost to a client that maybe your client didn't know was coming, and that might be affecting their budget or how much purchase power they actually have. So when we click the tax record, it actually has from the report date. Looks like it was from today. We have it as last updated. The flood zone, it's X in it's checked off in orange, which it's out of special flood zone area. So this property is not in a flood zone. If the property was in a flood zone, it would be under one of these different colors and shades. And it's just whatever the checkbox is. Sometimes you'll have different streets that have multiple different colors, and like that's different degrees of flood zone. And it just matters where the property and where your address ends up lying. Your property could have like half of it in a floodplain and the other half not, then that might be a cause for concern, because it really depends on where the property is located on that particular piece of land in that case. So definitely check the tax record. If you're looking at properties for a buyer and it appears that the property is in the tax record, check the MLS sheet, see if they have that referenced at any point. If not, definitely call the agent. Say, hey, are you aware that it's in a flood zone? Did your particular seller require to own their home? Did they require them to have flood insurance? Find out that kind of information, and then forward that information over to your buyer and say, hey, listen, like the property is in a flood zone. We should probably talk to a flood insurance company to be able to give us, quotes for this. Any type of insurance company that will give you quotes for a flood insurance, because that may or may not affect the value. Sometimes your clients are okay with that. Other times they don't want to have anything to do with a flood, like a floodplain or being in a floodplain. So definitely check this as you're looking for properties. As you get to know certain towns are more prone to be in flood zones than other. So I know certain sections of different towns like South River have pretty heavy flood zones. And you just know, like from having shown properties in that area, the chance that the property is going to be in a flood zone is higher. So you definitely want to check that for all properties in that area. And as you get more and more experience, you'll know that certain streets are just not in a flood zone in a particular town, but you still want to periodically check, because they do update those, and properties that weren't in a flood zone at one time could end up being in a flood zone in the future as well. So that's just a quick video of how you actually can search using the tax record, and it's something that I use on a daily basis, almost as much as I use the MLS. So I think that this was an important video for you guys to be able to see.